Gonzaga was the number 1 overall seed. Auburn and Arizona, as expected, both got 1 seeds, and Kansas was the final number 1. Jeff, I'm going to you first on this one, man. What was your single biggest takeaway from the bracket? I guess it was the bracket reveal, the top 16 reveal, top seed reveal, whatever it is.
My biggest takeaway, and I was afraid they were going to screw this up, was that they didn't penalize Wisconsin and Providence as much as I thought they would. They had them at 13 and 15. I actually think Providence should be even higher than 13 based on their resume. They're 8-4 in quad win games, 4-1. So 12-5 overall in quad 1 and 2s. I get it. Like, you look at them and you're like, how? They're going to drop off, but they haven't yet. And we've got 2 weeks left until the end of the regular season. So I would have Wisconsin even higher than 13, but at least they didn't crush Wisconsin in Providence. Think about this. Providence is 45 in Ken Palm right now. 45 going into the day, 29 in the net. At least they put him at 15. So they didn't kill him. So I was happy for that.
Steve, you got any takeaways?
I think the one takeaway, when I looked at it and I said, all right, Texas lost today and they're a 4 seed. Tennessee lost today. There's a 3 seed. Obviously, I think Texas Tech's going to move up. Kentucky has a chance to move up. My biggest takeaway is who's a 5 or 6 seed, 7 seed that legitimately can move in to the top 4 line. And when you really look at it, man, I was searching. You look and you say, well, Ohio State lost today. Yeah. Michigan State lost today. Houston's lost a couple, 2 out of their last 3. Bama.
UConn,
and then you say,
the UConn Huskies, Steve.
That's UConn Huskies are playing well, and then Mama Hog. They got Arkansas next. They got Kentucky at home. They're at Florida, and then they got Kentucky at home Saturday. You should be at that game.
Hey, listen, if Arkansas gets hot, Arkansas is the one team that might be able to make a run here until
that's the one I had circled.
Because they're at Florida's a quad 1 game, Kentucky at home, quad 1 game, LSU at home, quad 1 game, at Tennessee, quad 1 game. Now, here's the thing: they could easily
go 1-3 easily.
Yeah, they could lose all 4. Like, that is a brutal run-in. But if they win all 4, then their resume pretty drastically changes. And while we're here,
I want Southern Cal maybe, but
who have they beaten really?
That's what I mean. It's like, because next up is Wyoming. Wyoming, Murray State, when you look at the rankings and things. Yeah. And they're not going to be all the way up there.
And that's the one thing when you're trying to tell people, when you do a top 25 right now, it's like, hey, there's a top 14, 15 teams. And after that, you can throw a lot of them in a hat. They're going to change every few days based on who wins that day. But there's not a whole lot of disparity.
Yeah, and I want to give a quick shout out to our Fielding the 68 show. It comes on Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern time, Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Right here on this channel that you're watching on YouTube and on Twitter. They got all 16 of the seeds correct. The only things that they got wrong was they had Villanova and Duke swapped, and they had Illinois and Wisconsin swapped. So they pretty much nailed all of that for the top 16 teams. So I want to give a shout out to
watch that show every Monday, every Friday. These are guys. We didn't just rely on one. We've got 4 of them to make sure that we've got a good cross section there, and they're younger. No knock on Jerry Palm and Joey Brackets, but they're getting a little long in the tooth.
The guys we got are the best in the business in my mind. Nobody pays more attention than them. Jim Root, Rocco Miller, Andy Bottoms, Lucas Harkins, Kai McKeon. I hope I did I miss someone? I think I got them all. Did I get everyone?
Jonathan Warner.
There you go. I knew I was missing one. Yeah. So those 6 guys do our brackets. They're the best in the business. All right, let's go through region by region. Let's start with the West. We have Gonzaga as the number 1 seed. That's pretty brutal, drawing Duke on the number 2 seed line. What's your takeaway there, Jeff?
Yeah, I wasn't even sure Duke deserved to be on that 2 line, but if you get them, just imagine that matchup to get to the Final Four, that Gonzaga-Duke game, how high-powered it would be. Again, we saw it in Vegas, but with everything on the line, to have this Gonzaga team and this Chet Holmgren, which is completely different than the one we saw last time when these 2 teams met. It'd be a great game. I mean, again, to me, I thought Duke was they gave him a little bit of juice there at the 2 line instead of a 3.
Yeah, they are the 8th overall seed. And I would not be surprised if after today's games, if the committee reseeded all of this, if Texas Tech jumped up to that number 8 spot. Texas Tech right now is the number 10 overall seed. Steve, let me ask you this. I think it's a little bit interesting that Arizona is kind of locked in as the 3 seed, which means that if that happens, they are probably heading to San Antonio, which is about the same distance from Tucson as San Francisco would be. I don't know if that's true. Someone gave me that stat the other day, so I'm just going to go with it and pretend that it's accurate. That's about how much I fact checked here. How worried would you be if you're Arizona, you're in the South region, and you potentially get Baylor in the same region as you in Baylor's home state? Is that a concern?
Definite concern. Playing them in San Antonio, I think it's a huge deal. I would, without question, rather play them in San Francisco than San Antonio. I'm not sure how far Waco, like you talked about the mileage. I don't know what the mileage
But you
is.
can pick Arizona, right? Can't they pick, or just the ones?
I think just the ones.
I think it's
one seeds.
I think it's distance.
Yeah, right. But if I'm Baylor, I love playing them in San Antonio. Obviously, still got to beat them. Still going to be a hell of a game. But I'd much rather have them coming out to San Francisco to play me than having them meeting me in San Antonio.
Yeah, and as we're watching this as we're doing this right now, Arizona is up by 1 at home over Oregon. Just to put in context how important that win might end up being, it's going to be the difference between going to San Antonio to have your regional, or to go to the East region to Philadelphia, where Kansas right now is the number 1 seed, but they draw Kentucky in that region, Villanova in that region, and Johnny Davis in that region as of right now. If you are Arizona, you probably want to be in San Antonio instead of having to deal with potentially Kentucky, potentially Villanova, and potentially Johnny Davis. Am I right, Jeff?
Yeah, that's a great region if that ever happened. I mean, I know we want to talk more about probably the seeding than the regions, but again, Kansas, Kentucky,
but it's
Villanova.
fun to think about these matchups, man. Like how
agreed.
How great
no,
would that
agreed.
be?
But I think it's, again, they did a clear. And it's not that different than what everybody's had so far this year. I mean, we know who the top teams are right now. We know who they are. They know who they are. A lot's going to change in the next couple of weeks. Probably more of the bubble teams and the lower seeds. I think the top 15 or 16 teams, for the most part, again, are pretty clear. And I don't think too many of them are going to fall after 15. I think then you go, Texas was 16 today. And like Steve said, who moves in there? I don't know. But I don't see Providence falling that far. I don't see Wisconsin fall. Their resumes are too strong, what they've done.
And I think it's more like we talked about when we said who can win a national championship. I think it's more 12 to 14. I think you're almost 15, 16. You don't
trust them. Yeah, you don't trust
like
them.
Texas. I mean, you want them, you're pulling, you're like, and it's just, man, you gotta win today though.
They can't win 2 in a row. Most days. I mean, they win one, they lose one, they win one, they lose one. Alabama is the ultimate, who knows what you're going to get with them. Michigan State, as I tweeted today, you are what we thought you were. I mean, you really are, right? Going into
where is Greg Waddell?
Yeah, he's not happy.
Cardelli is down bad right now. Let me ask you guys this, and then we can get to our last commercial break here in a second. But I was a little surprised. Maybe just because of the way that the conference has been discussed so far this season, that the Big Ten did not have anyone seated higher than a 7, and they only had 3 teams popping up out of the top 16. Based off the way that we kind of viewed this league all year, Jeff, is that a little disappointing for the conference?
Yeah, I mean, you thought there'd be, again, you thought Purdue, but it's, again, Purdue, Illinois, and then everybody else. Right? All those teams, I don't know the difference. Ohio State, Michigan State, Indiana's fallen right now.
Iowa, that's your next little hodgepodge.
Yeah, they're all about the same. And it wouldn't surprise me if any of those teams we talk about make a Sweet 16 run, but it would shock the hell out of me if any of those teams, other than Purdue or Illinois, make a Final Four run.
More shocking, one of those teams making a Final Four run, or Steve Prohm dropping hodgepodge on the field of 68 after dark again.
Hodgepodge is in Iowa. Well, I mean, you got to think of where Steve's from, right? It fits, you know.